Oh, I'm so sorry. My network is kind of poor. So yeah, I'm very sure we're all excited to be here. Are we all excited to be here?
Yes, we are.
We are, yes, we are.
Yeah, as I was saying, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Maybe it's the network. I don't know. So I've changed my location now. So I'm sorry for the break. Yeah, my name is Abbas Khadija. I'm from Oshogbo. Presently, I'm in Oshogbo. I stay in Oshogbo. I'm a school administrator. We all know the topic we're having in this conference. Are we all familiar with the topic and are we excited as I am to listen to what our speaker has in stock for us this evening? I don't even know my beginning. Hello,
Yes,
please,
I guess.
can anyone
I guess.
try
I
to
guess
remove?
people are listening. I guess we are all listening. I think it's the response.
Oh, okay, thank you. Because I'm still having doubts about my network. I'm trying to move from one place to the other to be sure the network is stable. So that's why I'm trying to ask for response to be know if I'm truthfully online. So we all know our speaker will be speaking to us on effective and efficient classroom management.
I think she. Sorry, I think we lost her. Maybe we'll just give her 1 minute to join back. Sorry about that. The network is quite misbehaving. All right, I think our network is misbehaving from our end. So I think we're going to move on. I think we're going to move on, right? So she was in the process of introducing our guest for today for the network cut her short. All right, so I think our speaker is seated here already, and I think we are good to go. So just before we start, I just want to prepare our hearts. All right, so most of us may have experience in this in teaching and all of that, and there's no knowledge that it's a waste as well. So I encourage every one of us to pay another attention, even as our speaker today will be leading us through. It's another time to learn, it's another time to relearn, and it's another time to unlearn. So we're going to be handing over to our speaker for tonight as she um, give us the values and the package she has for us. I personally am very much expectant for tonight because I know tonight's teaching is going to be very loaded. So please, Mrs. Ife Dayo, you have the stage now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Nima,
How has our day been? How has the term been for each and every one of us? I believe most of us are teachers, right? So, how has the term been? Okay, I won't want us to interrupt the speaking. There's no problem if we can just put the chat on the group. If we can just use the chat space on the channel, I think that would be okay. So once again, good evening. My name is Ifedayo Shomotun. I'm an educator like each and every one of us. Just as you were here to learn, I'm also here to learn. So we are going to be learning from each other. Don't see me as the almighty in charge. We are here to learn from each other. So today, I will be talking to us. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen for us to look through. I would have done a video. Apologies on that. The electricity is a huge one for us. So I don't want to run down the battery life. But I'm sure we can all see my screen.
okay.
Can we see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Can we see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening once again.
Good evening.
Yeah. Can we still see the screen now?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Yes, we can see
Very
the
well,
screen.
very well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So today we will be talking about effective and efficient classroom management. Effective and efficient classroom management. So starting up, every time I happen to be in a classroom, I'm going to be talking from my point of view as an educator, because I've been in the class, I'm still in the class, I would always be in the class. So every time I have the opportunity to talk to colleagues, to talk to the educators, I always ask this question, even from myself, because these are the reasons, these are things that helps us to know where we are going to help us drive our car. Just the way we need fuel in the car is the same way as an educator. We need to understand something about ourselves. And the first question I always ask myself and I ask educators are, why am I a teacher? You see that I personalize it. So it's something you need to ask yourself. It's something you need to first digest it every time. If possible, every morning when you step out to go to that place of work, you need to first ask yourself, why am I a teacher? Why did I choose this profession? Why did I decide to be an educator? Why did I decide to say the four walls of an enclosed room with lots of children, younger than I am, older because we have adult education, so older than I am, that has this board in front of me, has books, has to do with pen and pencil, has to do with chalk, has to do with marker. Why did I choose to be in this confine? Why did I choose to be here? When you're able to answer this question, it helps you to prefer solution, or it helps you, it to an extent minimize the kind of headache. It helps to an extent to be productive. Because the truth is, if you don't know where you are going, you end up either in a merry-go-round or you end up not going anywhere. So when you have asked yourself this question, then I think we can move on. I'm just going to, I don't need us to write it. This is for us to digest. This is for us to think about. Then the next question is, what do we mean by being effective and efficient? What do we mean by being effective and efficient? I would not mind if we can just give maybe just a little definition from our end on what we think effective and efficient means. I'm waiting for us before I go on with mine. So what do you think effective and efficient means? Effective, effect. What do we think it means? Anyone? Okay, so we don't waste time. I'm going to give us a definition from the dictionary first. It says, effective means having the power to produce a required effect. That is, the power to produce something, the power to generate results. That's what effective means. I hope you are with me. The power to generate results, the power to produce, to be productive. That is what effective means. And efficient means making good or to be careful in the use of resources. That is, when you are efficient, it means you are not loud. It means you are not extravagant. Efficient. It means you're I don't want to use, but you are within that confine, let me put it that way, of what you are given. When you are efficient and effective is almost the same thing, because the end result is it is an effect. It gives this effect volume to whoever or to wherever you are at that time. So the next question to us is this, and this leads us into what we are talking about today. It says, how do you describe a classroom? How do you describe a classroom? From the picture here and from everything we see around us and as a teacher, it says a classroom is said to be a learning space for both children and adults within the school. It says it is a learning space, whether as an adult or as a child. The classroom is a space for you. It could be within a very big building. It could even be outdoor. So classroom isn't all about a building. Classroom is just that learning space where you get results. Classroom is that space where you have created for you and your child, that is your pupils, to learn. It says, until you begin to see the classroom as your office, you cannot own it and be effective. As a teacher, the classroom stands as your office. So that learning space, that place where you have created to dish out knowledge with whatever resource you have is your office. Just as a banker has the bank the bank building, that building as his office. A banker will say, I'm going to the office. The doctor will say, I'm going to the office. A fashion designer will even say, I'm going to the office. So as a teacher, where do you say you're going to? I'm also going to my office whenever I'm leaving for the classroom. So the classroom as a teacher, one thing I want us to understand is the classroom is our office. The way you handle your office, the way you treat your office determines the results that comes out of it. If you take your office as just a playground, it becomes a playground. If you take it as just that place I just go to, it becomes just that place. But when you see it as a space for you, where your income comes from, where you dish out knowledge, you dish out skills, you tend to hold that space jealously, just like every other person. I hope I'm making sense to us. I hope I'm making sense. I hope we are here. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So with this definition, thank you, sir. So with this definition of classroom, it takes us to what do we refer to as classroom management? What is called classroom management? It says classroom management is the process teachers use to ensure that classroom lessons run smoothly without disruptive behavior from students, comprising the delivery of instruction. Without disruptive behavior from students compromising the delivery of instruction. It includes the prevention of destructive behavior preemptively as well as effectively responding to it after it happens. So, in all the English I just spoke, what classroom management means is how you handle your space, how you handle your office, how you handle your clients in your office. The children you teach are your clients. How do you deal with them? How do you handle them? That is what classroom management is all about. Are you able to give instruction without without having to raise your voice? Are you at the end of the day exhausted because the children were all over the place? Or at the end of the day you felt fulfilled and you were like, oh, I had a great day at work today? All this is determined by how you manage your office. I would intermittently refer to the classroom as your office. So when you hear the word office, you understand that I'm talking about the classroom. So how you handle your classroom, how you are able to manage about 10, 15 children with your lesson plan, with your assignments, with their assignments, with teaching, is what is called classroom management. So I have a picture in front of us. One of the pictures shows students having their head on the table. This kind of picture, I remembered when I was growing up, this is very, very common. When teachers cannot handle us anymore, they tell us, now put your head on the table and sleep. And I still know some schools still do it. Some teachers still do this these days. They just tell the children, put your head on the table and sleep. From this picture, I want us to just tell me something about it. And also look at the other one. The teacher is exhausted. She's tired. She's fagged out. Why? There's a thing about it that she can't handle the children. You can see from the picture some children are trying to throw things. So from this picture, what can we depict from it? Please, I want the answers from us. What can we depict from this picture we can see? Anyone?
Good evening, ma.
Good evening, sir.
From my own perception, the The first picture where the instructor or the teacher ask the student to keep their head on the table. He's trying to maintain his capabilities. Maybe he is exhausted. He is trying to gain more energy. That's why he asked them to take a rest so that him too he can take a rest and continue with class activities. While the second picture, the whole class is out of the teacher hand.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Adamu. Thank you very much. Any other person? Okay.
Good evening.
All right. Good evening.
From my own perspective, the first picture is showing that the teacher can handle the students, that the teacher is able to handle the students very well because he or she is able to control them to put their head on the desk. While the second one is exhausted, like you said. The children, the person cannot control the students. So if she's not able to control the students, she's exhausted already. So that's my own perspective.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. But from these two pictures, I can tell us that the teacher isn't able to handle the classroom from both pictures. For a class, let me put it like this. I am an supervisor, an external supervisor, and I come to school between 8 to 2 o'clock, and I find your pupils with their head on the table like this. I'm going to give you a query. I'm going to give you a query for this. It means that you don't have anything planned out for your children at that time. It means that they are not engaging. As a teacher, you are not engaging them. If at this point maybe they are done with their work, you can find something. If you have your class under control, you can find something to do within the scope of the day other than putting their head on the table to sleep. So the first one with the pupils with their head on the table doesn't show that the teacher is in control. It shows that the teacher is lenient. Let me use that word. It shows that the teacher isn't engaging enough. It shows that the teacher isn't creative enough. That's the end result of children having their head on the table. The other one shows a very vivid picture of a teacher who can't handle the children. In the course of this conference, I am going to tell us the style of this kind of teacher. She can't handle the children. This teacher is too open, that the children knows how to frustrate her. And truly, she got exhausted. So these two pictures shows that both teachers lack classroom management. Now I have another picture for us. What do we see? What do we see from this picture? Anyone?
Good evening. The teacher is engaging the pupils in reading. And the first one I can't see very well. It seems like the teacher is telling them story also. But the second one, I can see clearly that the teacher is engaging them in reading.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Fatima. Thank you. Okay, so let's to speed up. In the two pictures, contrary to the first one we saw, that the teacher couldn't handle the class. In this picture, the teachers here were engaging the children, and you can see the readiness in the children and the attentive state of every child in the class. They were focused because the teacher has the class in control. The teachers in these two pictures have their class in control. That they have their class in control is evident. So this kind of class will produce results. If as a supervisor, I come in here, before I start to question the children and I see this, I had gotten my result. I might end up saying, oh, this is fantastic, and presume that the children are learning because this is the first thing I'm seeing. And my first encounter shows that teacher is in control. This is what we call a well-planned and a well-managed classroom. So we continue with what our classroom management from the picture. So it says, this is the method. From the pictures we saw earlier, it allows us to see that classroom management is the method and strategy used as an educator to maintain a conducive environment for student learning and success. I have a picture on it. This shows how a teacher really is. Teachers are they are supermen and superwomen. You have 1001 methods that you can develop to get your class to be productive, to get your class to learn, to get your class to have that end result that you want. And that process is what we call classroom management. It says this also, it includes the effective use of time and resources in the classroom to be productive. Remember when I talked about the first picture? When the teacher asks the children to put their head on the table, it means the time they have in the class isn't well used. And the resources also. You know, a lot of times I've been to a school where, it was my child last term when I asked her, oh, what did you do in school today? The only part she remembers is, I slept in school. My teacher asked me to put my head on the table and I slept. And whereas the school says sleep policy, the school says no sleep policy. So what happens? Why is the child sleeping? It means they are not maximizing their time and they're not maximizing resources. That's the truth about it. So when you use your time effectively, you are able to plan your time. It shows you are able to handle your class. Because classroom management is one of the most stressful, is one of the tedious job, is one of the greatest challenge a teacher can have to get results from the pupils. And according to research, it says it has accounted as the most common reason for burnout and attrition in teachers. By the time we finish the day, we are exhausted. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, did I plan well for the day? Was I able to manage the classroom? How did today go? These are ways to evaluate, to know if you are actually in control of your class, if your management skill is up. When you are able to look at the day and you see that you have results. You might be tired, but you have results. That's different. And at the same time, you might be tired without results. So when you check the day and you are like, and I didn't really achieve much and I'm tired, you need to look at it. Was I effective today? Was I able to handle these children properly? Was I able to even manage my colleague? How did my clients do today? How did they learn? Did I help them? Did I do right with them today? Was I able to put a smile on a child's face today? Because these are things I look at myself as an educator. I really sit down to look at it. How did I do today? What happened when one of my pupils had issues? Did I spark up? Was I able to talk to the child? Or I was angry? Did I lose it? Did I snap? That's how you measure if you have a very good class management skill. So that takes us to, what does classroom management do? What is the effect of classroom management? Number one, it says it fosters students' involvement and cooperation in class activities. As a classroom manager, that is, as a teacher, your first assignment is to ensure that every child's need is met. So that's what classroom management does. Every child's need is being met. How do you meet this? Do you incorporate the children into the learning system, or you are just the one that comes into the class, write it on the board, hold their hands, let me hold your hand to write it. They do that, and voila, the day is ended. The day has ended. Do you involve the children, or you are just the planner? There are different ways you can involve your students in your class activity, aside from the writing part of the book, of the teaching. Do you assign tasks to them? Do you give them that sense of responsibility? Not because you don't want to stand up from your table, but because you want them to be involved in the class activity. And you know, when children are involved in class activities, they feel proud. They feel like they feel fulfilled. So do you involve them? That's what class management does. It says it establishes a productive working environment. When you have your class planned out, when you have your classroom plan, just like an architect that wants to build a house, if you don't draw your plan, you can't build. You can't produce results. You can't even work. Someone will ask you, what are you working with? The same thing as a teacher. That you're a teacher does not mean you don't have to draw plans. The plan goes beyond just this lesson plan. It goes beyond lesson plan. It goes far as to pee time, water time, talk time, bonding time. So it's not just about your lesson plan alone. When classroom management is at its tip, it shows in your work. It says it helps build student self-esteem. Yes. You might wonder, how does classroom management help build student esteem? Let me ask us one question. A lot of us don't like math today. How did we end up not liking math as adults? One of our teachers told us, you cannot know it. until date. Until I became an early years teacher, I never liked math. I always see like I can't do it. Because when I was in primary school, I had a teacher that told me, because I failed, I think I missed out some sums, and he told me that you don't know math. Math is difficult, and he made it so with K. So until 30 years after, I didn't know math was that easy. I didn't know math was that interesting. So you see, if you don't know how to manage your class, you tend to build children that can't do anything. You tend to build children that can't boast of themselves. My child once was homeschooled. Why? Because she didn't want to go to school. And when we kept asking, she kept saying, let me stay at home and learn well so that I will know my book. And I was wondering, who told you don't know your book? She said, I want to know my book. I'm saying it the exact way she said it. She said, so that I can know my book, so that I can be smart. And I told her, who told you you're not smart? She said, nobody. Until weeks after, I got to hear how they were being battered with words in school. You're a dullard. Just you miss a sum and your teacher is telling you you are dull. That's a sign of classroom management. And a lot of us teachers are guilty of this. So you see that with a good and effective classroom management, there's something you are building. If you have it right, you build it, you build a good foundation. But if you have it wrong, there's something going wrong with the foundation. I hope you are still with me, and I hope I'm making sense to us.
Yes, fine.
Hello, are we there still? Are
Yeah.
we still there with
Yeah,
me?
with you. I'm with you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. So the next one is it's motivating your students and providing a safe, comfortable, and a prepared learning environment. A lot of things, you see, all these things are interwoven. I just started my center, and I have a couple of children coming. You know, when I got review from the parents, the school is less than 6 weeks. We just started this term, and parents will say their children will wake them from the bed and say, "Let's go to our play school. Let's go to our play school." And be like, "No, you are going to school." They'll say, "No, we are going to play school." What does that mean? It means that we are able to provide an environment that is comfortable, that children dream of wanting to be there. And that is what classroom management does. How excited are your children to come to school? Is your environment safe and comfortable? Do you, as a teacher, know the school rules on safety? Do you implement it in class? Do you prepare after today's work? Do you prepare for tomorrow, or you come in the next day and jump into the day? This is part of what classroom management does. You see that without classroom management, a lot of things is wrong. Not will go wrong, is wrong. Because without it already, the system is already in shambles. It says classroom management allows creativity and builds imaginative skill during lesson. And that's the truth. Especially for teachers that teach the primary, because teachers that teaches the nursery automatically has to be very creative. The primary system is where the challenge is, mostly when it comes to creativity. Teachers believe that when children pass into this, move to the primary session, play is taken out of their classroom. Hands-on is not part of it. They have to start to write, they have to start to do this. But do you know, if you plan your lesson, you plan your classroom well, you can have a whole lesson in a day without writing, and you will instill knowledge into the children. You will instill knowledge into them. So if you have a good classroom management skill, your creativity skill will move from 0 to 10. So these are what classroom management does for us. So this takes us to us talking to us, a teacher as the class manager. You know, we've talked about what classroom management does. So as a teacher, you are the class manager. And what does a manager do? A manager is a mentor. As a teacher, you are a mentor to your children. You are a mentor to your pupils. What you do reflects on your pupils. So if you are a rough teacher, if you don't plan, if you don't handle your class effectively, I can assure you that you are going to produce children in that class as your kind. Forget the home they are coming from. It's very simple. We are all teachers. We hear when children will say, when they get home, their parents will come to fight you playfully, right? And say, Miss so, I cannot tell my child to do this. All he will tell me is, Miss, this is what Miss asked me to do. You see that children are the replication of yourself. So if you are not a good manager, be rest assured that you are producing bad managers in your class. I remember there was a time in my formal place of work, in one of my years, I wasn't in school that day, and I gave my children this rule. I say, do not touch resources until you have asked me. Do not touch resources until you have asked me. I do not say don't play with them, but you need to take permission from me before you do that. And then I wasn't in school. A teacher took up the class and she asked them, okay, you can play with that resources. The next day when I came, she came back to me and said, do you know your children refused to touch these resources? I said, why? She said, they were hell-bent on it, that Miss Ife said, do not touch these resources. And they didn't touch it. She said she cajoled them. She told them because she wanted to just keep them busy. But they refused and told her, no. Our teacher says, don't touch except she asks you to. Did you see that? So a lot of us need to look at how and look at where we handle our children in class. We need to see if we are able to tell those children this and this and this is what you should do. This and this and this is what you ought not to do. Can you leave your children in the classroom and they are engaged? Or can somebody else take up your class and come back to say, wow, you did a good job with these children? Or they come back to tell you, your class was a mess. That is what classroom management is all about. That somebody is able to reflect, or your children are able to reflect you, or somebody is able to see you in your classroom. That is who a classroom manager is. You are a mentor. You are and your children of who you are. You see, as a classroom manager or mentor, your first duty is to create a successful learning environment. And we can see in this picture, our classroom management is the link between you and your results. That is, classroom management is what tells who you are. When people see, or maybe you're a year 1 teacher, year 1B, and they see a child and they say, what class are you? Say, I'm in year 1B. Oh, I see. I can tell. Miss so, Mr. So is your teacher. How? It is what they display. I remember then when we were in school, they would say, art class. When they hear noise on the corridor, the first thing they will say is, art student. Why do we think that happens? I started to see this trend that all through secondary school, teachers don't really take art students serious. So definitely, school breeds unserious art students. That shows that the classroom teacher is lacking in something. They can't manage the classroom. So classroom management is that link between you and the result you want to see. If you have a good classroom management, you have a happy child, and you as a teacher, you have a fulfilled life. So, how do we maintain an effective and efficient classroom? Number 1, establish clear expectations. So when we talk about clear expectation, this has to do with you defining the kind of behavior you want in the class. How do you do this? Rules and regulation. A lot of times for children in the upper class, when you want to draw your rules and regulation, you involve them in it. When you want to draw your rules and regulation, you involve them. Rules and regulation in the class. Don't talk while eating. When you need to ask for something, you raise up your hand. You don't walk around. You use your walking feet. Lots and lots of rules. Let it be established. Let there be consequences for unruly behavior, and let there be praises for well-behaved students. This also, in this our establishing clear expectation, we also have a lesson plan. Here we have the lesson plan, you have your timetable. You see, these are things that helps you put a structure to your classroom and brings results. If you don't have a timetable, how do you run? Or you don't have a lesson plan, how do you run? And also, before I forget, when it comes to lesson plan, we need to always run with what we understand. Don't complicate matters for yourself as a teacher. Don't make your lesson plan too ambiguous. A lot of times, the reason why you cannot interpret your lesson plan is because it is too ambiguous. Even you as a teacher don't even understand what you have there. You don't understand what it is. Or we just carried the curriculum and we start to write. That's where our preparedness comes in. As a teacher, you need to understand the curriculum you're working with. You need to be able to pick up your curriculum and talk about it. Because the school has given you a curriculum, how ready are you with that curriculum? Do you go extra miles online to see how this thing is being done? Do you talk to your colleagues? Do you share knowledge? These are ways to help you hold your class. Or you just speak the lesson, the curriculum, oh, this is what the school has given me, and you just start to write. You need to understand, you need to understand the curriculum. You need to hone it. You need to own the curriculum. And you need to develop. For example, you're teaching 2D shapes. Do you just teach the 2D shapes according to the textbook? What other thing do you put into it? This is how you handle, this is how you hold your class together. Do you ask questions? Do you want to learn more? Also, your timetable. Do you have a timetable you run with? Or you have a timetable and you don't even run with it? They love some teachers are guilty of that. They just have the timetable there, they don't run with it. You are not going to be effective and productive. I can tell you that. Because after a time, you will be exhausted. You will be exhausted. I can tell you that. So you have to establish that expectation from yourself and from the students. What do you want from the student? Your academic expectations, you need to establish that. Your social expectation, establish it. Your behavioral expectation, that is where the classroom rules comes in. So you need to establish what you want from your students to get your results. The next one is build positive relationship. That this relationship is not with your colleagues, this is with your clients in your office. When your client comes in the morning, how do you welcome them? You know, how you begin your day sometimes determines how it will end. Not all the time, but sometimes this is how it is. Do you respect your students? Do you know them individually? Do you understand them? Maybe Ade comes into class today looking gloomy. Some teachers don't know. Some teachers will be like, well, now you know. My own is just to teach you. I don't have issues with you. If you don't know your clients, you can't give the best and you can't see the best from them. And it's going to affect your classroom activity. A lot of times, some children that become bullies do not really want to be a bully, but because we don't know how to handle them. I once had a colleague who had a pupil in her class that every time the child looks at her, she'll be like, stop looking at me. You are always looking at me. Stop looking at me. You know, that is what she keeps saying every time. And you know, the funny thing is that this child was actually looking for something. This child was actually looking for love. It was at a point we had to tell her, how did you see this child? You know, it's actually funny. How did you see the child? If you two weren't looking at this child, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that he or she was looking at you. You see? You see that you have to build relationship with your pupils to get the best out of your classroom. You have to be open to communication. You have to be open to communication. Children can come in and tell you what has happened to them 2 years ago. You should be able to listen. You should be able to listen to them. You might be teaching them, you might be reading a story and they come up with something else. they might come up with something else. You should be able to listen. Don't shut them up. Because a child you shut up this minute can become a nuisance in the next minute and disrupt the lesson you want to teach. So you see that your classroom management carries a lot in delivering your lesson. Your lesson is your ultimate goal. But the most important thing to deliver the lesson is for you to have a very good classroom management. The third one is establish classroom routine. That is, put a structure. Let there be structure in the class when you are starting your lesson and when you are ending it. Let them know when you are transitioning from one lesson to the other. Let it be glaring to the children. Let them know. Even when you're not going to be around in the classroom, let the children know. Don't just, math has ended. You just bring out your English notes. We have come to the end of math today, so we would be having English. We are having social studies now. Let there be a starting and an end to your class. And make sure that you maximize your instructional time. Maybe it's 40 minutes. Ensure that you use that time productively. Ensure that you use that time productively. I have a girl that comes for after school, and when I check her notes, I'll be like, did you write this note in school? Said yes. Did your teacher explain? No. I had to go through all her notes, and I was amazed. For a subject as sensitive as mathematics, there was no correction because there was no time. The teacher could not maximize the time. And that teacher for me has failed at that point. As a supervisor, if I come in and I see that, that's a 0, that teacher is taking a query, I'm going to issue out a query straight away. So you need to be able to establish a routine that the children are used to and they will get used to and would help you in your lesson. Then the fourth one is use positive reinforcement. Use positive reinforcement. That is, encourage your children a lot of times. When something is well done, reinforce that behavior. Reinforce that behavior so that others too can learn from it. And when there's a behavioral issue, be quick to address it. Put that in place. When you are starting your day, know that when there's a behavioral issue, put something in place for you to be able to address it. As a teacher, you need to be vast. You are teaching between ages 5 to 9. Read up on them. Know when they can be good. Know when they can have this tantrum. Know the kind of behavior that can come from a 5-year-old. When you acclimatize yourself with this information and they tend to do something, it won't catch you unaware. You know what to do. You know what to do at that time to address it. And like I said, be open to communication. Listen to them. When there's a disruptive behavior, listen to them. Don't shut them down. Why did you do this? Children can express themselves, but if you don't give them room to express themselves, you won't get the result you want. So be open. Have a listening here. Let me use it that way. Have a listening here. And number 5, engage your student actively. How do you engage them actively? Hands-on activities, let there be discussion, group work. Ensure that your lesson is interesting. Ensure that your lesson is interesting. When you engage children, there's every likelihood that they are well behaved and they will focus. But when they are not engaged, that's when you will see one throwing paper from the back, or something will just go wrong when they are not engaged. When you are the one reading all the notes, you are the one marking all the notes, you are the one bringing out all the resources, you are the one, or it's just one particular set of children. Engage all your students. You could make it a weekly thing. You could make it a daily thing. Oh, today, Bimbo, you are the one who is going to, tomorrow, Ade, you are the one who is going to do this. Next tomorrow, Ayo, this is you. Oh, for this week, this set of students, this is what you are going to do. When you engage them, they look forward to working with you. And it gives you peace, even as a teacher. It gives you peace as a teacher. More tips on how to maintain an effective and efficient classroom. Be fair. When we say be fair, don't be judgmental. Don't have a Jacob. Don't be a Rebecca that you have a Jacob. And don't be God. Jacob I love, Esau I hate. Don't say, maybe one of the pupils, the parents gives you this, and because of that, you do this. Children see, and they talk about it, and it builds their behavior towards you. Be proactive. That is, don't wait for trouble to happen. Prepare for it. Don't wait for boredom to happen. Prepare for it. I always tell people it's good for children to be bored. Very, very. It's a good learning ground. It's a good learning ground for children to be bored. But if children are bored and you don't have resources around them to explore, their boredom is going to become a problem for you in the classroom. So you have to be prepared for them. You have to be prepared for that boring state. And also be positive. Focus on the positive behavior of your children, of your pupils. Like in EYFS, that's in early years foundation stage, we'd say every child is unique. They develop at their own pace. So I cannot teach Wura the way I would teach Yomi. And I cannot judge my classroom activity with what Wura is doing. I have taught in a school where I have 4 different learners in a class. The same class, 4 different things for a whole session. How do you handle that as a teacher? How am I going to do this? Or you use one size fit all. Then you come back and say this child does not know anything. Oh, this child is a dullard. Oh, this child is a slow learner. There's no slow learner. And that is why in your lesson plan, when you are preparing your lesson plan, you plan for the 3 kinds of learners, using the 3 different styles, the 4 different styles of learning. We have more than 4. You plan for the high flyers, the average learner, and the low learners. In your lesson plan, you have to plan for them. When you plan for them, you are able to manage your classroom. Because when you use the same style for everybody and the high flyers are done, they become a disruption to the class. Or the low learners, you give the low learners what the high learners will do. They get frustrated. They start to make your class uncomfortable for you. Then you start to shout, or you start to get worked up. So you have to work according to each child in your classroom. When you plan according to each child in the classroom, you have peace of mind. And that helps you to be patient. The truth is, you might not get the result immediately because it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. Don't beat yourself. Tell yourself and pat yourself on the back. I can do it, and I am doing it. And that is why at the beginning I asked us the question, why am I an educator? That is what keeps you going. So this brings us to the types of classroom management styles. Just the same way we have kinds of parenting styles, is the same way we have the different types of style we use in classroom management. We have the authoritarian, we have the authoritative, we have the permissive, and we have the indulgent. Before I move on, as an educator, you have to be able to use the all four. It depends on the time, it depends on the child, it depends on the situation. No style is terrible and no style is the best. It depends on the situation, but you should, as an educator, you should be able to use the four. Authoritarian. An authoritarian teacher or manager is a strict person. You have your rules, you have your expectation, and your expectations are always very high. It has to be this way. It's this kind of people are like the military. One way, this is how it is. They are disciplinarians. I don't take nonsense in my classroom. When the children hear you coming, they are boom. But you know this might not produce results if this is the only style you're using. You are building children that are not well groomed. The authoritative. This is a structured teacher, a structured manager. You have all well planned, you follow through, you are supportive, you have expectation of your children, yes, but you don't, your expectations are not the one that can break the bank. You are warmed towards the children, you're ready to help them, you are there, you have your lesson planned, you have your classroom rules, you have everything planned out. And you work with it. When your children see you, they know, oh, she is firm, she wants this, or he wants this, but at the same time, you are open to them. That's the authoritative. Then we have the permissive. This is a teacher who is just there. You just run according to the way it is. You want to have it the easy way. You bring your lesson plan into the classroom. Oh, this is what we are doing today, blah, 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 and you are there. Whether the children are learning, you are not really concerned. The students are the rule makers. There are some teachers like that. They will say they call it soft, but the truth is, you are creating, you made the children realize that you can't handle the classroom. Because when the children are always the one taking the lead, you are relaxed. You are not the extra mile person. It's good at some points. There are times where you just want the students to have their way. Remember, I said it earlier that you can allow the children have their way. That you can use any of these styles, but you have to hone your classroom. The fourth one is the indulgence. This one, the teacher with no rules. everything goes. Everything goes. You come into, that's like the picture of the teacher we saw earlier, where the children are throwing things, they are shouting, and she just didn't know what to do. She just didn't know what to do. She was lost. That's an indulgent teacher. She doesn't want the children to get angry at her. She doesn't want the children to see her as a Margaret Thatcher. But what are you creating? That's the first question you should ask yourself. So if any of us are on this, look at this and with my explanation and tell me where we all fit in. Where do you fit? Who do you see yourself? Are you authoritarian? Are you authoritative? Are you pessimist? Are you permissive? Or are you indulgent? I know I use all. It depends on the time of the day or the activity going on. So you can look at it and tell me where you see yourself as an educator. Okay, to move on. And lastly, in conclusion, when you understand as an educator that you play a vital role in classroom management, that you are able to employ these strategies, with this, you have a stress-free and become an effective classroom manager. You are able to take up your classroom without you coming. The students are not just they are not just acknowledging your presence. They come into the school or into your classroom and they know what to do because there's a structure. They know what to do. They know how Miss So-so-so-so or Mr. So-so-so-so wants his class to look like. Do you come to school just that morning, you are just carrying the lesson plan and looking through it? Or you just bring the lesson notes and you go to the board and you pour it there? Do you have extra knowledge aside from the textbooks? Do you have extra do you have extra ideas? Can your student ask you, Mr. Ade, I saw this blah 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 on while we were watching TV. I saw this and this is it, and the child throws a question at you. Are you able to answer? And if you can't answer, do you have what it takes to tell? Do you have that that ability? Do you have that courage to tell them, oh, I don't know this at this time, but I can assure you that I will look through it. Do you know it is not a crime to tell a child you don't know? Some teachers don't know. Some teachers think when I tell the children I don't know, I have failed. Excuse me, you haven't. You just showed the child that you are human and you are open to knowledge. Don't come to class feeling like you know it all. You can even come to your class to teach a lesson and act like you don't know anything. And let the children be the teacher for that day. You'll be amazed at how wonderful they will turn up. Don't beat yourself when things are not working right, or when things are not the way you feel it should be. The most important thing is that you are working towards it. And that's the best way to learn. Every teacher learns every day. New knowledge comes in. New knowledge comes in. And the best way for you to acquire new knowledge is to be open. The same way you want your children to be open to your learning, you also have to be open to them. I think I have come to the end of the class this evening. Thank you very much Lily Sawyer for this opportunity. I have learned a lot myself, and I hope I have given the little I know. And if we have any question for me, I'm right here to answer.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ifedayo. We've all learned a lot, that I'm very sure of. You've done justice to the topic, and we are grateful, sincerely. Okay, before I actually, okay, let me ask, do we have any question? We can almost, if you have any question for our lecturer. Hello?
Good evening, ma. Good evening.
Good evening, ma. Good evening, Mrs.
Wow. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the facilitator, and I really appreciate what she has given us. It's a kind of beautiful reminder. May God continue to help you. However, I have one or two clarification, not really question. When she was talking about classroom management, are you hearing me, ma?
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you.
When she was talking about classroom management, she made some examples which I need a clarification on it. She said she was talking about teacher not being the only one doing everything. And she made example of is the teacher that is the only doing the marking, doing this. Are we expected to leave marking or few of those things you've mentioned to learners as well? And again, she said something about I think I've forgotten. She said something also that I want a clarification about. She was talking about when teacher, are we the kind of teacher that when your children finish learning one subject, you will now say, okay, we have come to the end of this subject. The next subject now is this. What is the normal thing to be done? I need a clarification, ma. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Awar, for that. Awar, okay.
Yes.
All right. So for the first one you talked about, I remember talking about the teacher doing everything, doing this, doing that. I mean that the truth is, for older children, everyone can be involved in what you're doing. Okay.
Okay.
Ade, you distribute the books.
Okay.
Bimbo, it's your turn to gather this resource together. You see, we call it designating duties.
Okay.
Delegating duties, rather. Delegating duties. So you are, okay, for example, I have year three children, and they all worked together. They can exchange their books, and they can mark each other. It has happened. After they are marking, you get the books from them. There was one that happened, and you get to know children when they are truthful and when they are not. At a point, through marking books, through the marking this children's book by themselves, one of the children once marked the pupil, our friend's book, and said, "I deliberately marked that wrong." And you ask, why? She thinks she can always get it. Every time when you'll be saying she got it right, she got it right, she got it right. How do you get to know those kind of children in your classroom? They can be it can be sensitive, but at the same time, you are getting to know the kind of children you have in your classroom, and you are able to address some issues. That is where it starts from. Children that envy each other. You can delegate board cleaning. Oh, you are cleaning the board. That's for older children. For younger children, is tidying up. Oh, you tidy up. You share pencils. Oh, this is the book. Are they okay? Give Ife his book. You will see the excitement in them. You will see the excitement in them wanting to do what you ask them to do.
Exactly.
They feel involved. It's just getting them involved in what you are in the daily activity in class. I hope I'm able to answer that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. The second one, ma.
So the other one, the other one was about
We
please
are
can you
done with
remind me?
this subject. The next thing is to go to
Yes, you have it's a normal thing to do in a classroom when you have a landing of the subject you are doing, of the subject you just finished. Okay, you are spending 40 minutes on math. You finished math. And you don't tell the children, we have come to the end of today's classroom. You've not closed up.
Okay.
You have to close up on each subject.
Okay.
Yes, you have to close up. We have come to the end of today. Don't just tell them, now bring out your English textbook or bring out your English notebook.
Got it.
You need to
Thank you,
close
ma'am.
up. All right, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Please, I have a
Good
question.
evening, ma.
Good
Good
evening,
evening,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Please, I have a question
Okay.
and a request too. Please, I want to ask if this training, this free training that we are having now, if it is recorded. If yes, please, can it be reposted so that we'll listen to it over and over again for better? Can you hear me? Or did you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Network.
I think it's recorded. It's recorded, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
it's
can it be
recorded.
reposted on the platform so that we'll listen to it again, please?
All right,
The admin would do.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma. So I have a question, ma.
Okay, I'm
Are you
listening.
listening?
Yes, I'm all
About
ears.
okay, about the first pictures, about the first picture that we see a teacher that asked the student to sleep, and the other one that did not control the student. Are you listening? Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
So
Yes, I am listening.
when the students are maybe they are free, maybe they are not doing anything, and for the teacher to just think that for them to rest their brain, can the teacher ask them to put their head on their desk or not, or the teacher should try and make them busy?
Okay, thank you for that question. I believe on the timetable, on every classroom's timetable, aside from preschool, there's always an engagement. The first question I would ask when I get to this kind of class, and like I said, aside from preschool, is I would ask, where is the timetable? And as a preschool, they shouldn't put their head on the table. There should be a mat or a sleeping area for them. So I shouldn't find a preschool child even putting his head on the table sleeping this way.
Nap time.
So
I'm not talking of the lower premise. I'm talking of the upper premise.
yes,
That they
for the
are,
upper
for
primary
the
into
upper.
secondary. Okay, that's why I said if I come as a supervisor to this class, the first question I would ask you is what's on the timetable at this time? It's not just one person. Even if it is one person, it means that the class is boring or maybe the child is sick. But when I come to a class and I see about 70 to 80, 60, even half of the class is sleeping, I would ask, what's happening? What's on the timetable? What do you have on your timetable right now? Is it free time? That's the first question. Because for a primary pupil, you have, I think, a minimum of, you can't go beyond, I think, is it 40 minutes or 1 hour? And the truth is, you can't exhaust your time if you are creative in your class, ma'am. If you are very creative in your class, your subjects cannot end and your children have their head on the table within 40 minutes. It can't happen. Then if you now have a free time on the timetable, you could use activities. There are lots of online, you have a lot of activity that could engage children and make them productive. Even the one that feels sleepy, when you bring out that kind of activity, will wake up. So you can't have that free time. And this is the end result. So what would you as the teacher be doing? Okay, you'll be marking their notes. But even when you are marking their notes, you need to keep them busy. Quizzes, hands-on activity, books to read, art and crafts, a lot of things to do. Okay, or make up for sums or subjects or classes they missed. There are lots of things to do other than sleeping. I hope I'm able to answer that, ma'am.
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well done, ma. Yeah, well appreciated.
Thank you.
I appreciate you for doing justifications to just the question that has just been asked now. And I'll use this medium to implore the school owners to please try to, encourage their teachers to join this program. Sincerely speaking, the question that woman just asked now, school owners mostly find problem with the teachers. Asking the learners to put their decks on their decks while they have a lot of activities to, on their timetable. I love the point you raised that in the preschool, it is only in the preschool you have nap time. It's 0 to 5 in EYFS. Yeah. EYFS learning stated is 0 to 5 learners should have nap time on their timetable. Aside that, basic class, you don't have nap time, except the child is otherwise in any condition. I really love that.
Yeah.
As an supervisor, if you go around and you find a situation whereby in a basic class you have learners putting their heads on desks and you questioning the teachers there, they're like, you are being strict to them. Most of them doesn't know. You don't just in school you use time. You don't waste time in school. Time management is priority. A second has its own impact in learning system. I really appreciate your topic and your presentation. The area of my question, let me use this period for the person that asked the question that this very program should be recorded. I think Chisom is on the line and she's hearing that question too. Hopefully we are going to put it on the platform because I'm seeing something taking place on the Telegram. We usually use WhatsApp, but I love here too. so that the recorded program could be sent in. The area of my question now, you brought out like 3 or 4 different, what is it called? One, authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and indulgence. Actually, I couldn't pick the wordings under each heading very well because you shared your screen right, but it was not clear to me. I shall screen it. I'll check it later. But I think authoritarian, authoritative. Please, I'm so sorry. To me, I couldn't differentiate. I want to believe the heading has the same. Generated from the same word. When you're authoritative, you're an authoritarian. So I don't know if this has any little explanation you could give on that. Then my second question is, how do we handle teachers, not in basic schools alone, in the secondary schools? I've witnessed it, even standard schools in this town where I am. Teachers will give learners notes, ask them to write notes, to form notes from their textbooks. You're asking learners to form notes from their textbooks into their exercise book. You have delegated your duty as a teacher in this aspect, because the essence of writing a lesson note is for you to form it so that the ambiguous words there will be, make it a kind of simplify it for the learners to assimilate. Now you're asking them to go and form notes on their own from their textbook, not even giving a question, kind of research on this and let's do it together in the class. That's my second question. And the third question here is, how do we manage classroom teacher that are just too lazy in submitting lesson notes and plans weekly? You need to structure your topic that you want to disseminate in the classroom for the management to see what you want to teach. Area that you need to be assisted, you need to be given the resources. Area that they need to chip you 1 or 2 that you need to know to help you, disseminate your message well in the classroom. You didn't submit a lesson plan or note for the management to know what you want to teach. And in the return, parents are coming here to complain that the teacher is not performing well. How do we manage such classroom teacher? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, ma'am. Thank you very, very much for the for your contribution and also for those questions. I'm going to shed a little light into them. Firstly, I want to tell us, I want to explain this, the classroom management styles. Like I said, we have the authoritarian and authoritative. Authoritative is what we call accurate. When I talked about the authoritative, I said this person is structured. This person is detailed. This person is a good class manager. Anyone who is authoritative. And remember I said we can use, every 4 is useful. None is the best and none is the least. You just should be able to know how to use which at a particular time. But mostly you should be an authoritative person. It means you're accurate, you are in charge. You are in charge. No child is using your head to eat anything, and at the same time, you are not the boss. An authoritarian is a boss. An authoritarian is a boss. This is how I want the class to be, and that is how it has to be. An authoritarian is, like the dictionary says, absolute obedience. No turning back. But this other person is a structured person is structured, it follows it follows the guideline of what he wants, and he's so supportive. He's very supportive, he's warm, and has his expectation, but at the same time, she is not bossy about it. What is that about that one? So, about a teacher who comes to school and who goes to the farm without the instruments. There's a problem somewhere with the management.
Sorry,
I'm sorry to say that,
sorry,
but
ma.
I will say it the way it is.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry for interrupting. Can I, if I can we say an authoritarian is somebody that is autocratic leader? Can we?
Yes.
Can we? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can go ahead. Thank
So, like I said, when a teacher is in your environment and is not doing the right thing, you're going to the farm without your instruments. There's a problem with the system, because in the first place, you shouldn't allow it. You shouldn't allow it. It's impossible for a banker to go to it is impossible for a banker to sit at the teller without the tellers, without the machine, without the computer. There's nothing he's sitting down there to do. You won't even find him there. You won't find this person there at all. You won't find them. So the system is wrong. So the system should check themselves first. How do you carry out how do you carry out your rules and regulation at your place of work? You can't continue to indulge, and you want results. So what does the teacher work with? The teacher doesn't work with anything. So I won't blame the teacher now. I will blame the system. The system is wrong. So the system should put themselves in place first. Then you can address the teacher. That's what I would say about that. I hope I've answered your question, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ifundayo.
You have. What about the third
Thank
one,
you
ma?
so much, sir.
Is there any
Oh,
Third question.
sorry, please, what's the third
The
one?
third question. The third one.
Please, can you remind me the third
The
one?
third one talks about asking learners to copy notes from their textbook.
Oh, okay. On that note, ma'am, I don't know how that is being run, but I know you can actually ask students to make up notes, not copy directly from the textbook. You can ask them to make up notes. I do that for my primary children. They make notes, not copy. We have our lessons. The reason why you do that, why you ask your children to make notes, is for easy understanding.
What's age?
From year 2.
Primary.
Year 2. They make notes themselves. For example, let me use the
From the classroom or at
family.
home?
Maybe we treated the subject family.
Is it classroom or
In the classroom.
fine?
That is done in the classroom.
Fine. And
So if you have a system
they will give
where
you
it's
textbook.
not this way, they have their textbook, we have a lesson. We go
Okay.
through the subjects. We go through the topic.
Okay.
Then they write it in their own words, not in mine, and not in the textbook's word, in their own word, to hone the topic. So if it is the way I just said it, I don't think there's a problem. But if it is the other way around, then there's a problem. You need to address it.
That after several explanation on the topic, I think.
Yes?
I say that is the forming of notes comes after you have introduced the topic, you have explained.
Yes.
Okay. And they've assimilated.
Yes. It's assimilation
Fine.
that brings about them making a note themselves.
Fine. I love that. Thank you.
I hope I've answered. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You have. Seriously, you have. You really shed more light on it. Thank you.
Thank you too, ma'am. All right.
Thank you
Miss
very much.
Khadija.
Is there any other question? Do you have anyone who still have a question? Okay, in the absence of no question, Mr. Tufedayo, we are really very grateful.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, Mrs. Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I just joined the class now. The secondary students I have, their parents find that they're making their own notes. Secondary, their parents find that they're making their own notes. So how do we go about that?
I didn't get that.
I said my secondary school section, secondary now. Who has to form their notes? Their parents frown, complain seriously that why would they allow them to copy notes? Why can't teachers copy notes for them? Why must they form their notes themselves?
Okay, ma'am. I think the only way parents will frown at this is if it is not done properly. I cannot see my child bring textbook home and be copying directly from the textbook, and I wouldn't frown about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. I will really frown if you are copying directly from the textbook. But if my child comes to me and tell me, I'm making my notes myself, mommy, this is it. If you explain to me, I'm writing it in my words. And then at the end of the day during exams, because this is where the problem is, I have seen children make notes, not even make notes, read to their understanding, and then during exam, write down what they understand, and the teacher gives them an X. So I won't accept it as a parent if my child is copying directly from the textbook. But if my child is making notes, is not you are giving me a definition, and you can give me a definition of maybe just a line in your own words, I will take it. But if you are giving me in another word, I will. If it is directly from the textbook, I won't accept it from you. So that is what your parents are frowning at.
Yeah, they frown
your
at
parents
that.
are frowning at.
Yes.
So you have to find a way. You have to find a way. You have to explain the process and use the appropriate process. You have to use the appropriate process. That's just it. Have I answered you?
Yes, you have. Please, you have
All
to
right.
make
Thank you very much.
We will give you talking, please. Some other time, please.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tufedayo. We are very grateful. The lecture was so insightful and full of lessons. And I'm very sure every one of us have learned more than one or two things. Like, we've learned a lot, and we are grateful for your time. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sylvester. Hello, hello, ma, please, are you there? So I think if there's
Hello.
anyone that has another question. Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. Ifedayo. We are with you, ma'am.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Is there anyone asking a question again?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we have come to the end of
So
the
the
class.
lecture was so insightful, and I'm very sure we've learned more than two things. We've all learned a lot. And on behalf of the foundation and every one of us, we are grateful. We are thankful for your time. May the Almighty continue to increase you in knowledge and, make you a very successful person. Thank you very much, ma. We are grateful.
Thank you too, Ma. Thank you everyone for the opportunity. I'm humbled. Thank you very much.
So this is the end of today's conference. I don't know if the admin has one or two things to say.
Too much to say. Just to say thank you, Mrs. Fidayo. Thank you everybody for joining in. I believe we all learned a lot. All right, so that will be end of today's meeting. We're going to be having another section for next month. That's the March edition. So just stay tuned and be expectant. I would love every one of us to go to the WhatsApp group and drop the value you got from today's meeting, just a way of feedback. Tell us what you learned today, and also show our speakers some love on the group as well. So, in the accept of no other questions, say thank you and God bless us. See us next month for our next section. All right, thank you so much and have a blessed night's rest.
Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ifedayo. And thanks to everyone for joining as well. So have a wonderful night rest.
And you too. Good night. Yeah.
Good night.